Hi.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. It's part 2 of my last episode of the Mandela Effect.
This is episode 12 of Wicked.
Mysterious.
And I'm your host, Danny.
And I'm Katie. You can tell I don't like it, right? You can tell.
No, it's better than saying it together.
Okay, but we have to get better.
I just imagine how many people hate us, and
I know.
It makes it that much funnier to me.
I know. We'll get better.
No, I don't care. Whatever. They hate us because
they ain't us.
They hate us because they ain't us. I can talk, I swear.
They hate us because they ain't us.
So, you sounded like you said anus.
I did say anus, but it does sound like ain't us, right?
Ain't us.
It's like ask you a question.
They hate us.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they're buttholes.
Mm-hmm.
You hate this.
I have a really funny butthole shirt. You've seen it, right?
No.
It's an alien shirt and it says, "Ask me about my butthole." I only wear it to certain places, of course. It's a funny shirt.
I like it.
It's great.
You should have worn it tonight. That would have been amazing. Imagine if you zipped and you were like, "I'm wearing it now."
Oh God, I just sometimes will forget and go to the grocery store or something, and then I remember when I see people looking absolutely horrified, staring at me.
Speaking of, should we tell them?
Yeah.
We are going to be now. Once I say it, it means we're actually have to do it, which we were going to do anyway. But
right.
We're going to be making a t-shirt line.
I'm nervous.
Yeah.
I'm nervous that you said it.
I know, right? It's going to be like merch, kind of, but it'll be more than merch because we don't really... Who's going to buy our merch besides just our friends and family?
Yeah,
but
it's merch, though. It's supporting us, and it's related to us.
Yeah.
So, you know.
But I think the direction it's going to take is like more of a
separate thing, you think?
I don't know. I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah, maybe it'll bring people to us. Maybe they'll be like, "Wow, that alien bean shirt is so cool."
If anybody steals my design, I will
take it out. Take it out.
No. They don't even know what alien beans are yet. Because as we're recording this, that episode hasn't even come out yet.
That's true. Okay.
But by the time
we're clear, so we need to make sure we have this already done.
By the time this comes out. Oh yeah, so please check out our website, which will be there in the future but isn't there yet.
Okay, yeah. We'll talk about the future website right now.
Yeah.
It's coming.
That's how it happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're talking about collapsing timelines. And our next... Why can't I fucking talk?
I don't know. You whispered right there.
And we're talking about collapsing timelines and our next episode, so I guess that goes along with it.
I'm excited for the next episode. I really am.
I'm nervous about it, but we'll talk about it then.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into this part 2 of the Mandela Effect. So, everybody, I left off with... we did our intro, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we totally did. Okay. Sorry about that. Everybody, I left off with like absolutely zero theories of anything. And people are probably just like, "Oh, Katie again, the wackadoodle. She's over here talking about, alternate realities and stuff," which it is a theory. But there is a lot of other scientific explanations of those different dimensions and alternate universes. But yeah, there's also some like more easily understandable explanations for Mandela effects, not Bernstein bears, but all the other ones. So confabulations are it involves your brain, and it basically it fills in the gaps that are missing in your memory to make more sense of it. Confabulation for people tends to increase with age. So as we get older, if we can't remember something, our brain just kind of fills it in. And I mean, I totally believe in confabulations. I totally do. Like, but not entirely relating to Mandela effects. Like, for example, I've experienced confabulations, I think, in my life where I could have swore that something happened differently years ago involving like a friend or a family event. And to me, the odds still that hundreds of thousands of people's brains are filling in that same exact memory gap is what is like astonishing. It's just what isn't explainable to me. Just too much of a coincidence.
What about perception? Because they say like, for example, like the truth has three sides or whatever,
Yeah.
your side, their side, and the truth. Because if you think about it, the way that our brain fills things in, and this might not even be related to the Mandela effect, but the way our brain fills things in is like based on your perception of reality and based on your past experiences. So it might not necessarily be the same as somebody else's.
Right. Yeah, totally. I mean,
or will never be
yeah,
the same as somebody
totally
else's.
never. Yeah, because look at us with the book. I'm over here ready to fight. I'm like, no, Danny, you remember that EI, but you just don't, you know?
No,
So,
I do remember the EI. It's just that
just not so like strongly.
yeah, I'm more open for that one in particular. I'm more open to the possibility that I might be wrong.
Okay, I think we need to make a shirt that has something to do with Bernstein.
We should.
We have to. Okay, but we have to look into
cross it
that
out.
because, like, how, you know, with the whole branding thing and, like, you know, we don't want to be, what's the word?
I don't know. People on Etsy do it all the time.
I know.
People on Etsy, like, make their own band designs, their band T-shirts, and, like,
You know, it's
I
like
thought
how?
you couldn't do that.
Right, how? How do they
I
do
guess you
that
sell
for
them until you they
copyright
shut you
infringement
down.
is what I was looking for,
Yeah,
right?
but, like, what are they going to do? Sue you? I mean, I guess they could, but
Well, they're not suing us over beans.
no, they can't because that's an original Danny design. So
It's gonna be a good one.
I'll sue somebody if they take it.
All right.
Anyway.
Yeah, another explanation, another like scientific explanation for Mandela effects are just misleading post-event information. So information that you learn after an event can change your memory of it. And it includes like subtle event information and helps to explain why eyewitness testimony can be so unreliable. You know, and that kind of falls in with perception, right? Like a little bit with eyewitness testimony, because again, it's all just how you're perceiving it and your opinion.
Yeah.
In your memory. I don't know.
I saw something years ago on the Jersey Devil, which we should cover at some point, Mothman.
Oh, yeah.
And it was all the eyewitness testimonies that are just so far off because we don't even know how to measure things, let alone remember what we saw. So they would have a bird fly overhead and then they'd ask the person how big the wingspan was.
Yep.
And people would like give wildly different accounts. So yeah, it's very well known that eyewitness testimony is not
Right.
accurate.
I feel like what you're describing almost falls into the next one here too, of priming, where it describes factors leading up to an event that affects our perception of it, also called suggestibility and presupposition. Priming is the difference between asking how short a person is versus how tall a person is. Saying, did you see the blue bike instead of saying, did you see a blue bike? Just making subtle suggestions that would influence someone's response in memory. So maybe not like exactly how tall, like, I guess it's not the same, but.
No, it is because you're saying like, what was the height? You're leaving it open versus how tall were they is more. It's priming them to say they were tall.
Right. You're right. Yeah.
Or I see what you're saying though, because tall is how we describe something. Nobody says how short were they.
Right. Our perception. Like if I just looked at you to guess you're 5'2", somebody else might say she's 5'5".
Right.
Which you're not. I'm not. You're a perfect 5'4".
How did you know that?
I'm 5'4".
Oh.
So when I stand next to you,
Is
I
that
say,
why we're so in love?
yeah.
Oh.
But also, we're cute guys. Just so you know, we're not ugly.
Oh yeah,
we're cute. We wanted you to know that, you know.
I'm just all right, but Katie's pretty cute.
Stop it! You know you're cute. Knock it off. Oh my god. But we always say
You're
that.
priming them to see us in real life.
I am.
But I learned about priming one time. I think it was in psychology, and it was about priming of the police and weapons, and how much racism affects how the police react because they're primed by racism and they don't even know it.
Wow.
So a lot of white police officers have a negative bias against Black people, even if they don't realize it consciously, and they're that much more likely to shoot a Black person because of they're already primed for it.
Wow.
And also having a gun on you automatically primes you to be more violent.
Yeah, that I can totally see
Yeah.
being easily accessible that way. It's scary shit though.
It's
scary
crazy,
shit.
like all the little nuances of the brain that affect so many big things that we don't even think about.
And you're right. Yep. Well, our memories are just vulnerable bits of information stored in our brain, and our memories can change over time. We know this. we've always assumed that our memory has to be accurate and true, but it's not always the case. Especially people that are going through like brain changes, you know, dementia, things like that. I mean, we know that 100%, but my memory is very strong. It's not changing. I'm only 35, I think. So like, you know, I feel like I still got my marbles up there. So that's whatever. But anyway, still, what are the odds again that so many people have had the exact same memories? Like it just keeps coming back to that for me.
Can you go back to the second one before priming? What was that one?
That one was just the misleading post-event information. So like if you it's like telephone after an event, somebody says something that's incorrect and then all of a sudden your memory is changed by it.
Okay, so maybe that explains, just playing devil's advocate again, like I have to.
Yeah.
Maybe that explains for me actually Mandela's death, because like maybe I remember seeing something about him on TV on the news and it was a big deal at the time, and then when I heard he died, I was like, well,
that was
like
it.
Maybe I just filled it in or something. But but what are the chances that so many people did the same thing?
Right.
How is that possible?
Like people describe somebody reading his eulogy. I couldn't find who, but people like are like positive that this man read the eulogy at that funeral.
Yeah.
Like how? How do so many people remember that?
Right.
It's nuts.
And maybe it's because as Americans, we're so far removed from like other parts of the world. Like as bad as it is, I'm like saying like so many times, I probably sound like a fucking idiot, but as Americans, we're so far removed from other parts of the world. When we were talking about Mandela, I knew he was an advocate and I knew that he was an important figure in history, but I couldn't even tell you what he did.
Yeah.
So how am I so sure that he died back then? You know what I mean?
Right.
So maybe we're just not paying attention and we're just filling in gaps, like you said.
Yeah.
But again, everybody the same one. That's where I start having trouble believing that theory.
Right. It's just hard for me to just brush it off my shoulder and say we're remembering things wrong. It's really hard, just due to the mass amount of people that remember the same things wrong. I just can't. That's just me though. Again, I'm very, very open-minded, everybody.
And then the Shazam Kazam thing.
Yeah.
How would that be?
I know. It's insane.
How would your brain all of a sudden just be like, no, wait, there's two of this one movie.
Yeah.
Instead of like any other movie in the world, you know?
Right. And for people to remember it being a knockoff. Like people being almost like insulted. Like, what is this? What do they think they can do? How can they replace our Shazam? But I really am curious about, like, if you are listening and you do remember Shazam, any of these Mandela effects, please let us know somehow, you know? Comment on our social media, send us an email.
And explain if you have, like, a specific memory.
Yeah, wickedmysteriouspod@gmail.com. Yeah. Please send us an email. We would love to read it on our next podcast. And we're just very interested. This is so interesting to us.
Yeah, I definitely want to hear other people's perspective.
For sure. All right. So other people, of course, believe that the Mandela Effect are proof or examples of glitches in the Matrix, or that we are basically living in a simulation, which we've talked about before. So that's such a hard concept for me to grasp. I do get it, but like, it's really hard for me. So that we're living in a simulation and our reality as we know it has been reprogrammed at some point with many little subtle differences, some that we haven't even discovered yet at all, which we talked about, as if our reality is just one giant video game and we're just characters in it. And like something slipped up, like we talked about, what was it, 2012? Like SAID data, I remember with Y2K, right? It was a huge thing where like everybody was like holding their breath at midnight. We were terrified about something. I don't know if we all feared like the end of the world as we knew it, but like I know technologically wise, as if that's the word, technology wise, we were afraid, right? It's like, what if that was part of it? Like, what if literally we are a freaking simulation and shit shut down and then all of a sudden they had to reboot that shit and somebody was like, hey, get everybody you know and let's reprogram this shit.
Right.
And now there's just so many little differences.
Right.
It's crazy to think about that as a theory.
I had a conversation with somebody recently about simulation theory.
Yeah. Which the Sims video game, and I'm like, simulation.
That's what it is.
That would almost be mind fucking, that's like a tease, right? Like, hey humans,
Because
here's a video game to play of a video game of your life. Like it's like a hint to us almost, if that was true. Sorry, go ahead. I couldn't.
no, yeah, there's a lot that I could say about that because I think about it a lot. But I had a conversation with somebody recently about simulation theory, and they brought up the fact that even if that was true, it answers nothing because somebody still made the simulation. Somebody still programmed it.
Right.
So who programmed it?
Right.
And then where do they fit in? And then are they programmed too?
Right.
Where did that come from?
Because that's a whole theory of
Because
like a simulation in a simulation in a simulation. It's like how?
It doesn't explain where we came from or why or anything like that.
I'm pointing to the sky right now. Maybe that's where the whole creator of the simulation is.
Maybe, but yes, sure, but
just maybe.
But then who are they and why? It just doesn't it could explain, some of the nature of reality, but it doesn't explain why we're here.
Yeah, like imagine if it's just like a planetary thing. Like other planets control other planets. Like they have the power and the control to shut the simulation or reprogram it or whatever. Just just to be out far-fetched out there. Like just a theory.
Yeah.
That like anyway, yeah, we're gonna talk about galaxies and shit in a second. But so we know that us living in a multiverse is more than possible thanks to quantum physics, which I'm not going to get into because I am nowhere near capable of that shit. Even if I studied it beforehand, it's just way too involved and complex. And thank you, scientists. But we used to believe that we lived in a single universe, in a single galaxy. And now we know there are many universes all around us in our solar system. According to Mario Livio, an astrophysicist from the Space Telescope Science Institute in Baltimore, scientists' estimates will differ on this, but the acceptable range is from 100 to 200 billion universes among us. Now, let me just say something. Can you imagine just maybe 30 years ago, or all of the people that have died that we know and love that like died thinking there was one universe and one galaxy? Like that's insane. Just 30 years ago. What?
Not to correct you, I'm sorry, but to me, the universe means like all-encompassing everything that there ever was, and there's multiple galaxies in the universe.
Right, but there's scientific evidence that there's multiple universes.
Like different, like a multiverse.
I know what you mean. Totally, yes.
Yeah.
I know what you're meaning about like universe being every galaxy. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But it's like our huge universe, and then there's another one next to it, basically. You know what I'm saying? And it goes on for infinity. Mm-hmm. So apparently, like I was saying, what was it now? So yeah, the universe is around us. So like, back to that, like we had family members that died thinking that we're in one galaxy. Mm-hmm. Like it's just one solar system with one galaxy. Like that's insane, right? We just thought that not that long ago. Mm-hmm. How much more are we going to learn going forward about our solar system, in our ocean, which is amazing to think about, and we probably won't live to know.
It's crazy that we're trying to figure out space when we can't even figure out our own ocean.
I know. It's totally mind-blowing. It really is. And I can't even understand how we figure out this space yet. I really don't. Okay. So can we totally rule out that some of us have merged or slipped into an alternate universe or reality? I don't think that we can. There's plenty of evidence suggesting that there is something very different about our current reality. And I wonder if these merges have been happening since the dawn of time, but we're only catching on now due to just our advanced technologies. Multiple universe theories explored by scientists could mean infinite universes. Scientists can't be sure of what shape space is, but most likely it stretches out to infinity. But if space-time goes on forever, then it's got to start to repeat at some point, since there's an infinite number of ways particles can be arranged in space and time. This is where people tend to believe other versions of ourselves exist, in fact, infinite versions of ourselves. Our observable universe extends only as far as light has had the chance to get in 13.7 billion years since the Big Bang. That's 13.7 billion light years. The space-time beyond that distance can be considered to be its own separate universe. This would mean a multitude of universes exist right next to each other in a giant patchwork quilt of universes. Mind blowing to think about. Parallel universes is the idea existing from string theory and is the notion of brain worlds, BRANE worlds, which are parallel universes that hover just out of reach of our own. Proposed by Princeton University's Paul Steinhardt and Neil Turok of the Perimeter Institute of Theoretical Physics in Ontario, Canada, this idea comes from the possibility of many more dimensions to our world than the 3 of space and the 1 of time that we know about. In addition to our own 3D brain of space, other 3D brains may float in a higher dimensional space. Columbia University physicist Brian Greene describes the idea in his book, The Hidden Reality, as the notion that, quote, our universe is one of potentially numerous slabs floating in a higher dimensional space, much like a slice of bread within a grander cosmic loaf. I thought that was adorable. By the way, I gave a roll of toilet paper to Dalton the other day, and he called it a loaf. He's like, oh, the whole loaf? I was like, please don't call a roll of toilet paper a loaf, please.
Oh, I see a new t-shirt. String theory was just explained to me the other day, and I thought it was super interesting because it's not dimension in quotes as like spirituality calls it.
Yeah.
At least I don't think.
Yeah.
At least not as it was explained to me. But again, we can't test spirituality or the thought of like consciousness.
Yep.
As it relates to this. But string theory is that instead of 3D, like depth, I'm not even going to try.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you're so bold right now for going into it. That's why I was just like, string theory? And I looked at you like, I'm not getting into string theory right now. But it is insanely, it could be a whole nother episode. It's wicked complex and so interesting.
It
but
basically just means that instead of 3D, there's 4D, but it's here on Earth in the physical. It's just that we can't see it.
Yeah. That's a good summary.
I think.
Yeah. But just to finish off that theory there, just the parallel universe thing, a further addition to this theory is that the brain universes are always parallel and out of reach, and that sometimes they actually might slam into each other, causing repetitive big bangs that reset the universes over and over again. It's another one to think about.
So there's probably, like we said, there's probably so many Mandela effects that we just can't.
Like wheelbarrow. I mean, just like that, you know? Like,
I wonder why it affects our generation so much more. Is it because we think so differently?
Or is it just because the advancement in technology happened at like a certain amount of time where
so it's like more provable that
yes.
people...
Maybe just recent, but like these probably have always happened to generations and they just didn't catch on.
Yeah.
It's probably the case. I'm fascinated by all that. So another whole theory or just scientific explanation of another like type of universe is the mathematical universes. So scientists have debated whether mathematics is a useful tool for describing the universe or whether math itself is the fundamental reality and our observations of our universe are just imperfect perceptions. It's true in its true mathematical nature.
Yep, that's just like remember what Tom wrote to us about Stephen Kubacki and how Stephen Kubaki's book talks about the universe being the math itself, and the math just describing it, and the math will never be the universe itself. It's just an expression of it.
Yeah, right. That's why like it's it's still unknown. Like what really is it in relation to the universe? If the latter is the case, so if our observations of our universe are just imperfect perceptions, then perhaps the particular mathematical structure that makes up our universe isn't the only option. And in fact, all possible mathematical structures exist as their own separate universe, which is like tough to follow. Max Tegmark of MIT, who proposed this idea, said, a mathematical structure is something you can describe in a way that's completely independent of human baggage. He goes on to say, I really believe that there is this universe out there that can exist independently of me and would continue to exist even if there were no humans.
Right.
And then there's daughter universes. This is a theory of quantum mechanics which reigns over the tiny world of subatomic particles, suggesting another way multiple universes might arise. Quantum mechanics describes the world in probabilities rather than definite outcomes. The mathematics of this theory suggest all possible outcomes of a situation do occur in their own separate universes. An example of this is if you reach a crossroads where you have a choice to go either right or left. This present universe gives rise to two daughter universes, one in which you'll go left and the other which you're going to go right. Green wrote in his book, Hidden Reality again. And in each universe, there's a copy of you witnessing one of the other outcome, thinking incorrectly that your reality is the only reality. So after we know that there is scientific proof of all these different realities or dimensions and universes, it's like, how? So tell me now that you know it's very possible, even highly likely, that there are other dimensions among us. Do we really all think that we remember the same wrong thing? Do we accept our memories no matter how strongly we recall? Or are we just wrong? I feel like if we can't trust our memories, what the fuck can we trust? Like, that's like
Math.
part of, yeah, well, it's just part of our, like, I don't know, it's part of our...
It's part of the human existence that we will just never understand at all.
Yeah.
And even the people that understand this math, and even the quantum physicists out there, they just don't know. They know the
Nobody
math,
does.
but that's it.
Nobody knows, and that's why this is wicked mysterious. And that's part 2, guys. So we kept it short, right? Is it 30 minutes?
Yep.
Oh, good. So we met our mark, and we're keeping it nice and short because the last episode was quite long. But yeah, what do you guys think about the Mandela Effect? Let us know. And thank you for listening. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay mysterious.